Hey everyone, happy February and welcome to More Layers. I'm Seth Mariano.
And I'm Jordan Smith. And if you can't tell, I am in a great mood because, as we established a couple weeks ago or so when we were talking about the playoffs and the Super Bowl, I'm a big time Eagles fan. And for those that don't know, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So I am pretty happy right now.
Yeah, so this would be, I believe, the Eagles franchise's second Super Bowl title in 8 years, and in the second time that they've won a rematch against an old Super Bowl opponent. So, yeah, a lot to, I think, be proud about, definitely.
There seem to be a lot of parallels between our win here and our win in Super Bowl 52, where we're up against this big name dynasty, the NFL's golden boy, as it were. And not only that, but like you said, it was a rematch because we lost to them in a previous Super Bowl, and we managed to come out victorious. It just turned out to go a lot better than I was expecting this time.
Yeah, I certainly didn't expect it to be such explosive, but I think it was one of the best performances that I've ever seen from any NFL team. Honestly, I know I watched it with a bunch of friends of ours, and Jordan was
Mhm.
with one of our Artists Unlimited friends and his family, and some other people, and and yeah, it was a pretty exciting kind of runaway.
Yeah, the Eagles defense leading up to the Super Bowl was ranked at like the top defense in the league, and they definitely showed it in this game. They forced at least a couple fumbles, I believe, one from Patrick Mahomes directly. They intercepted him twice, got a pick six out of one of them. It was incredible. And I would say the one who did the pick six, DeJean, I think
Uh,
is his name.
Cooper DeJean.
DeJean, something like that. What was really special for him is he was a rookie. It was his birthday, and I think that was one of the first catches or first interceptions of his career. And he did it off of Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl and really got the Eagles' momentum shifting in the right direction. I don't know about him, but if I were him, I really couldn't ask for a much better birthday gift.
Oh yeah, or a rookie year for that matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people definitely made some names for themselves in that Super Bowl, but in today's episode, we're going to talk about some famous people for one reason or another that are from our hometown, or at least are connected with our hometown.
Yeah, I came across an article not long ago from a local television news station, a local major network affiliate, talking about how at the Grammy Awards, which I believe was the weekend before the Super Bowl,
Hmm.
there were three musicians with Rochester connections who won big at that Grammy Awards. One of them being Elaine Martone, who won Classical Producer of the Year, and also Sarah Gazarek, like a professor at the Eastman School of Music, like, like
Hmm.
won an award in instruments and vocals, and then Jason Troiding, an alumnus to the Eastman School, well, won his first ever.
Definitely some people making history. It looks like at least two people were associated with the Eastman School
Yeah,
out of those three.
at least, yeah.
Well, I guess if you're in the area and you want to get your career going, I guess the Eastman School of Music is a good place to go.
Oh yeah, and of course, it's not just these obscure musicians who have connections to the city known as the Flower City, Rochester, New York. There are plenty of bigger names, like you mentioned in the notes, John Lithgow, who is an actor probably best known for his roles in Footloose and Shrek, who is apparently from Rochester, New York, which I'm not sure if I knew that, but but apparently you did.
Yeah, when doing some research on the subject after we discussed it when the previous episode was done recording, it's like, okay, let's see if I can find other Grammy winners or other celebrities that are associated with Rochester. And then one of the first names that popped up for me, that I recognized anyway, was John Lithgow. It's like, oh, I happen to know who that is. He did the voice of Farquaad in the movie Shrek. And I looked it up. Apparently, he was born right here in Rochester, New York.
Yeah. It is kind of funny because I just saw the musical version of Footloose, a local school production, over the past weekend, this past Friday night. Of course, in the film, Lithgow was the guy who played the Reverend. But this is a school production. A couple of our Artists Unlimited performers were in it, and I knew one other person who has connections, with at least one of our Artists Unlimited friends, and was taught dance by the same choreographer who worked with us on our last show. So yeah, some good connections, good catching up with those people, definitely, and it was definitely one of the highlights of my week.
It's always special to see people like that.
Yeah.
And I still tried to find some actors or some performers that were connected to both Rochester and the Grammys. I don't know if he performed at this last Grammys. I think he did, but I could be wrong. But Timothy Mitchum, which I guess was either born and or raised in Rochester, he performed at the Grammys, and a lot of people know him as Simba, I believe, in the Broadway musical, like the Young Simba, or at least one of the animated films. I'm not entirely sure, but what I do understand is that he was young Simba for some form, some version of the Lion King, and he wanted to keep doing it, but eventually he got older and his voice got deeper, so he couldn't really do it anymore. But yeah, apparently he's associated with Rochester too.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Let's see. And I definitely didn't rely too much on Wikipedia because, Wikipedia, while having a lot of good info on there, you still want to do some research. And they had a long list of people from all different walks of life, all different career paths that are associated with or were, like, they lived in Rochester at some point. There were a lot of musicians, a lot of athletes, a lot of historians or something like that. And a couple athletes that I found that I believe were actually born in Rochester were Abby Wambach and Ryan Lochte.
Yeah.
For those that do not know, Abby Wambach, something like that. She, up until somewhat recently, was a U.S. women's soccer player, like a professional soccer player. I don't know if she was in the Olympics or not. I'm pretty sure she was. But she was a big name in the sport. A lot of people knew who she was. She definitely got in some controversy for one reason or another, but that's a conversation for another day. But she was one of the biggest names in women's soccer, and she was apparently here in New York, or Rochester specifically.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Lochte, very similar, big name athlete, competed in the Olympics, specifically the men's swimming. I don't remember exactly which swimming formations he had, but I believe he was on the same team as Michael Phelps. And like Wambach, he did get his name into some controversy at some point. Again, conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But like Phelps, a lot of people know who he is for one reason or another. And for better or worse, his name is attached to our hometown.
Yeah. 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 I've been looking down the list, honestly. I've been looking kind of down the Wikipedia list, and I ran into one interesting name. That's like I don't know how many of you are big on like basketball or its history. Jeff Van Gundy was I take a longtime professional basketball coach. He played high school basketball here in Rochester, graduated college here, and then was on staff actually, only on the staff of the winning team of the last NBA Finals as well. So, so yeah, even if our state's name or nothing like that is exactly on the name of the champion or whatever, ever, there's still something I guess to be proud about.
Oh yeah, any attachments to their name, regardless of how big the attachment is, it's still significant, especially if you're from the same place they are.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was kind of skeptical about uh, Wikipedia just a little bit is because some of the names I saw it said they were from Rochester, but as it turns out, they were from a city just outside of Rochester or near Rochester. So I'm still gonna count this one, but just to be clear, she wasn't directly from Rochester. And I'm talking about Kristen Wiig. She is a voice actor, which I aspire to be. And Seth has recently been uh, kind of dabbling into a little bit, which
Yep.
is awesome.
Yep.
Uh, for those that don't know her by name, and I'm pulling up a list right now just so I don't get it wrong. Some of the roles that she is well known for, she was in Bridesmaids, she was in Despicable Me. Let's see.
Was she in just? Yeah, she's in all four of them. I mean, I was gonna say, was she in just the first two because she reprised her role from the second one in like 3 and 4. I'm assuming.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen the fourth one, at least as of yet, but from what I understand, she came back. I don't think her character was in the first movie.
Well, I know
Because
she voiced a different one in that one.
did she?
The orphanage director.
Oh, that was her? Okay. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah.
Because I knew she ended up voicing Gru's eventual wife,
Yeah.
who started out as his like spy partner. But yeah, she did that. Let's see.
Lola Bunny in the Looney Tunes show. I know that one.
Yep. I am pulling up her roles as we speak.
Yeah.
Lucy was a character's name in Despicable Me.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 1984. Oh, she was Rough Nut in the How to Train Your Dragon films. Not the live action one coming up. That's something separate. She was apparently in the 2016 Ghostbuster movie. I never saw that.
Right.
It's like I'm really excited to talk about this one because voice acting, and she's in a lot of stuff that I happen to at least know of.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, she was Lola Bunny. She was in at least one episode of SpongeBob as a character named Madame Hagfish. I don't know if I know that one. That must be one of the newer episodes I haven't seen. But I feel like she was in. Who was the voice of Anna? That wasn't her.
Anna and Frozen.
Yeah,
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell. Okay, so I was confusing
Yeah.
Kristen Bell and Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kristen Bell. She was Anna. She was the female sloth in Zootopia.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I know, not to confuse the two. But yeah, she definitely had a lot of big roles, some of which we are familiar with and even grew up on to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, I'll get to meet her at some point. That would be cool. And then I had two more names here. This one isn't particularly from Rochester, but has some love for the city, and that is Adam Levine, who many people know as the lead singer in Maroon 5. Now, I don't know if this is information that's found on the internet, but I know that he has at least a soft spot for Rochester because however many years ago this was, I want to say this was either 2017, maybe 2018, or somewhere around there, where my sister took me to a Maroon 5 concert that was in our hometown. And between songs, Adam or one of the other musicians in the band would talk about parts of their life or their time in Rochester prior to that. And Adam Levine at one point said that he loved Rochester or had a soft spot for it. And one thing he specifically pointed out was Rochester's garbage plates, which some people go nuts for.
That's right. Yeah, for if anyone outside of Rochester isn't familiar with it, it's basically like a plate combining macaroni salad, hot, usually I think hot meat sauce and other ingredients into kind of this one big mess. It's supposed to be like real hearty and real filling. And I've had and there it originated I think with the restaurant Nick Tahu, but there are also some other spins on it in other places which I have gone. And yeah, it's pretty much like perhaps the most famous food item here.
Oh yeah, and they usually throw in things as well, such as like burger patties or hot dogs.
Yeah.
Uh, and collectively, I can understand why some people, just by hearing all that, may think that sounds really gross or really disgusting.
Mhm.
And it can be to me, depending on who's making it.
Mm.
Like some places I've gone to hasn't been that bad, and other times it's been great. But like you said, it can be very filling, and depending on where you get it, you might have a wonderful experience with it. Just, I would say, do some research ahead of time, saying like who's really good at garbage plates and who you should get them from.
Uh, yeah.
And I had one more name listed, and this one is a lot closer to home, pretty much metaphorically and literally. And that is our mutual friend Race Eberhardt. He is a fellow actor in our Artists Unlimited productions that we do every year. But he recently made a name for himself because not too long ago he was a starring character or starring role in a feature length film. It's not like to the scale of the Avengers or anything, but it's a huge step, especially since he's one of the first people, at least that we know of, who has Down syndrome to be able to star in a feature length movie. And not only does he was he raised in Rochester, he's still here. So we've been able to see him. I actually went to the premiere live, saw him there, congratulated him and his family. And I honestly did have a good time watching this movie. It was great.
Yeah, they did screen the movie like a couple times
Hmm.
over one weekend at a local theater, and Jordan, myself, and a couple of our Artists Unlimited friends or so attended one of the showings at the little theater here in Rochester, and got to see it on the big screen. So
And I think the experience was very similar to when people come to see our plays or musicals, where they're just taking their friends or their family. It's like, oh, this is going to be fine. I'm sure we'll at least enjoy ourselves or whatever. And then they come back out and they're like, this is amazing. I got to see this more often.
yeah, yeah. And if you've seen the Today Show recently, you may have seen that they actually did a story on him and that
Hmm.
movie. Yeah.
And I'm glad it's getting some attention because I feel like in certain sections of Hollywood or certain genres, a lot of movies are not doing so well, or different genres are not doing so well. And movies like this are just in the shadows because it doesn't have as big of a budget, it doesn't have any huge name celebrities attached to it. But I'm hoping this movie, Race, and the studio that made the movie in general gets the attention it deserves because it was well put together. It put race in a spotlight in a very solid way, might I add. Everyone's performances were enjoyable. And even if I don't work with the film studio in the future, I really hope it succeeds. Because again, it's difficult to find solid films anymore.
Yeah, I have a couple friends who are like either filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers, and I've seen some of their work, and I feel like they may not uh, have quite broken in yet, or they might have not been able to get there. But I've seen what they can do, and I feel like I feel like they deserve a lot of praise for it.
Sure. And I think this could lead to something much bigger as well. Because this film studio and groups like Artists Unlimited, they're showing that people like Race or others that are similar to him can do the same things that a lot of
Yeah,
other people can that don't have the challenges that they do. So this could open the floodgates. This could open a gateway for many people who struggle to be able to get opportunities like that because he just showed
yeah,
that he and many other people are capable of doing it.
yeah,
This could be a huge deal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there is one other Rochesterian uh, who who is a more famous name, at least in the nostalgic sense, that actually have kind of a more personal connection to Gary Lewis, who was the frontman of the old rock and roll group Gary Lewis and the Playboys, which was a big group in the 1960s. At one point, they had a number one hit that overtook the Beatles on the singles chart for the top spot. And several years ago, I was running camera for a special service in which he and his band actually performed a set. He was interviewed, and he even at sometime later he got baptized in our church, and sometime a little bit more recently he performed at the town hall, the Greece Town Hall here in Rochester. So yeah, it's a pretty yeah, it's a pretty cool connection, and yeah, his music is uh, I guess if you like that old style, like the 50s rock and roll Grease vibe, that's probably the music for you. I like some of it myself, and yeah, at least in my church, that's probably one of the biggest names and connections we've had.
Understandable. And the fact that he got baptized on top of it
Yeah,
is it just makes it really special because
yeah,
in where we stand, we believe in God,
yeah,
and getting baptized is a symbol of a promise of a
yeah,
connection, uh, and we believe that when our time comes and we pass,
yeah,
we'll go up to be with God. And if he
yeah,
got baptized and he's committed to it,
yeah,
then that means we could also see him
yeah,
in eternity, which
yeah,
that alone is a big deal.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, that's a pretty cool. So
Mm.
clearly, a good number of connections to Rochester, New York. And we probably just scratched the surface. And I'm sure if
Oh
you
yeah.
really wanted to take the time to really delve into or do a deep rabbit hole dive, whatever, go for it. And you may be real impressed or real astonished or whatever. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about that. And I guess we can kind of wrap it up from here. And you guys can follow if you know me, follow my Instagram, Seth underscore Mariano underscore AU. and stream all of our episodes on Spotify and YouTube, and and leave comments on Instagram and YouTube as you wish, and keep the talk going.
Absolutely. Any comments, questions, concerns you may have, let us know because we'd like to make the show better in any way we possibly can. If there's subjects that you want us to discuss or you have questions about, even if it's something we already had an episode on, you can still let us know about that as well. We'd love to hear from you. Um, if you're from Rochester, tell us some big name that you recognize that is also from Rochester that you have a connection to. Or if you're from somewhere else entirely, do some research. See if you can find some famous names from your hometown and let us know who they are. Maybe it's somebody we also recognize.
Yeah, well, until next time, everybody, take care.
So long, everyone.